Hi, I'm David Coulthard, former Grand Prix driver, and welcome to F1 Unscripted. It's a Heineken non-race Sunday. And my guest today is a former world champion. It's Nico Rosberg. Nico, you're joining us from your lockdown home with the family. How's things?
DC!
Nico, how are you?
Very, very good. And you?
Oh man, you're looking like the freshly retired athlete you are, straight from the shower, and I'm sitting here drinking a beer.
Yeah, you're looking like the professional businessman. Where are you at?
Yeah, no, I'm sitting here all ready to ask you a few questions on behalf of Formula One. So let's jump straight into it. We're all experiencing a bit of lockdown right now. You're locked down with your lovely family. But what we wanted to do today on F1 Unscripted is to sort of delve into a little bit more the psychology of what it takes to be a champion. And you know, you come from a fairly unique position in that your father was a champion in your chosen sport. And when I was doing a little bit of research, I see that not only are you both Formula One world champions, but you share the same middle name as well, Eric. So what's the family connection with Eric? And then we'll get into your Formula One career.
So the family connection is that it's actually my granddad's middle name as well. And beyond that, I'm not sure. So it's just been passing on from one generation to the next. And yes, of course, I was very lucky to have my father as a guiding hand, through my career. And him being someone who's experienced all of the whole process of getting to the top in racing and also winning at racing. So that was incredibly helpful for me in my career.
So when I was looking at how other athletes have achieved the success, when we look at tennis, then I don't know if you've ever read Andre Agassi's biography, but he talks about being really pushed by his father. And even the Williams sisters, similarly, you know, the father really pushing them to the point where, in the case of Agassi, at a certain point, he was hating playing tennis, but he was winning. So, you know, I don't think you ever had that over enthusiastic father, but, you know, tell us in your own words.
My father was a huge support to me, but at the same time, all through my life, he also was someone who had high expectations of his son. But it was really the same, whether it was in school or racing or anything else. He expected his son to really go for it and be determined to do well in life. And that he always made very, very clear to me. And it was somewhat a little bit conditional as well. Like if I did well and I pushed well, then he would also show me a little bit more affection. And I think that was exactly the right mixture. It was perfect because it really set me up for a life where I pushed hard. I pushed hard, and I wanted to achieve myself. We did also have a talk, and for me, him being very close did enhance the pressure a little bit on me, because I also want my dad to be proud of me, and I want him to really appreciate what I'm doing on the racetrack. And him being so very close always did add a little pressure for me. And so I spoke about that to my dad, and we really, he understood in the end. He understood that maybe now was the best moment to take a step back and to really let me do my own mistakes and let me unfold myself and my own career. And that was super smart. It was super smart because looking back, that's what helped me then become my own man and my own driver in the way that I did. And that allowed me also to become a world champion in the end. So it really was a clever move by him, and very difficult, because letting go for us parents, David, you know exactly how that is. You have a son as well. To let go and completely let them do their mistakes, even though you know what's going to happen because you're an expert in the field. That's super hard. But I'm really thankful. My dad did a great job there.
Well, it's fascinating to know that you had the strength of relationship to work together on this. And I think you can both be very proud to both be world champions in Formula One. It's an incredible career, Nico. You know, you weren't in Formula One for very long. You did 11 seasons. You won 23 Grand Prix, 57 podiums, and of course the Holy Grail, that world title. Now, the real opportunity to get that success came when you signed to Mercedes Grand Prix. It's like a dream come true. German mother, Finnish father, but you race under the German flag. You go to Mercedes, and Schumacher returns. Where were you in your head? Because, you know, you've had some handy teammates, but he's the most successful in the history of the sport.
Yeah, DC, that was not a good moment. I was all excited. Yeah, I could be leading this Mercedes team, and like the name Schumacher was not even on the horizon. Nobody was even talking about that. And then suddenly Ross calls me and he says, "Oh, by the way, your teammate is not going to be it was Jenson Button or Nick Heidfeld. It's going to be Michael Schumacher." And I was like, oh my God, craziest thoughts, like that I would have no chance and the whole team would go against me, and Michael, he would manipulate his way through, and also like I don't even know, can I keep up with him? I mean, he's the greatest of all time. Do I have a chance? So yeah, that was pretty crazy moment.
I remember you telling me a story once about, again, on this subject of psychology, where, Michael was a fit guy. He really, into body sculpting. He would wear the tight t-shirts. This was all part of his presentation, wasn't it? To try and get inside your mind. And I remember a great story where you talk about, I think it was in Monte Carlo, why he would go in the bathroom, the driver's bathroom, at the time where you wanted to go, just to try and get inside your head and annoy you. So, what sort of things did you try and do in return?
So Michael is a psychological warrior. It was an incredible learning for me over those 3 years. And he doesn't even have to make an effort. It comes naturally to him to try and psychologically get into the heads of his competition. And I was his teammate, so I was his greatest competition. And it would be from the morning to the evening. I mean, there's so many examples. Monaco bathroom was one example. 5 minutes before qualifying, there's only one bathroom in the garage. And he knows that I'm standing outside because I'm knocking like crazy, telling whoever's in there to please get out because I'm panicking. Like I need to pee before qualifying. And he's in there, just looking at his watch, just chilling because he knows he's going to create more and more stress in my mind. And then with 1 minute to go, he walks out all chilled out and he's like, oh, sorry, I didn't know you were there. So by this time I was in full panic mode, and it just went on and on. There was another example where he would love to walk around topless in the engineering room just to show his six-pack, because it was another statement of strength, like to impress everybody who's there. Because as you said, he was his body was pretty sculptured, and it just went on and on. I mean, there was infinite examples like that.
Well, all of this obviously was good grounding for you, because just when it gets clear that you've got the upper hand on Michael at that phase of his career and in this new hybrid era, you then wave goodbye to Michael into final retirement, and you get Lewis Hamilton, someone you know well from karting, someone that you've worked with in your earlier career. And, it's like, can I get a clear number two teammate? They keep giving me number one pluses. So did the Michael experience help you for taking on that challenge?
Yeah, I mean, as you say, I was like, okay, done. I've conquered the most difficult guy out there. And then they say Lewis Hamilton is incoming. Oh, my goodness. And I knew how good Lewis was because I raced him in go-karts for many years. And I knew that he was extra special. With Lewis coming, actually, it wasn't any negativity in my mind. I was looking forward to the challenge because he was the world champion. And remember that by the time Lewis arrived, I had just won one single Formula One race. And here was the great Lewis Hamilton coming into the team. So again, it was like very, very uneven in terms of statistical results in the past. But I relished that and I took it on. And I had learned a lot by then. So I was really able, straight away, actually, from the get-go, I was really able to be playing level field with Lewis all the way through. I mean, in 2013, it was still pretty much easy going because we weren't fighting for race wins. And we used to be really, best friends. So that was a decent start. But then going into 2014, that's where you notice then, because once you're fighting for race wins and for championships, there's so much at stake. It's like there's your dream is at stake. I mean, both of us dream of winning the world championship with Mercedes. It's so big. And so then you just start to make compromises, and it's the friendship that gets compromised in return for winning races. And it just went small step by small step, and it just builds up. It was tough, So this was the first real build up there in Bahrain, and there's still many like untold stories even about the Bahrain weekend, and so maybe in 10, 20, 30 years time we'll start to talk about more of those stories. But there's so much that's going behind the scenes, so much politics, so much discussions. Oh my God, it was mentally very, very challenging. That's certainly the case. Look at this. He just drove me off the road.
Let it go. You won the championship. No, but explain a little bit more about that.
I just touched on that.
Yeah.
The guy is there. I got him back. You see, I drove him off the road.
Barcelona. That was the real boiling point.
But the guy is phenomenal in a wheel-to-wheel battle. It's just unbelievable how he positions the car so smartly. And whenever I would try to like go up against it and hold my own and fight back. He would always manage to like stay in the gray area, and whenever I would try, sometimes I would just straight away jump over the gray area into the black area, which is not allowed. And he would just be so skilled at keeping it in the gray area and never really making it 100% his fault. That was a huge strength of his. This wheel-to-wheel battle is one of those huge strengths that he has, of the many.
Yeah, I think Michael had that ability as well. Whenever I went wheel to wheel, then yeah, sometimes he went over the line.
I would say I don't think that's quite the same.
But finally, you get that world championship, and we, of course, I can relate in some respects to what it feels like to win a Grand Prix, but a championship. And then, just leading from that, 5 or 6 days later, you announce your retirement. So I'm really interested to know, did that really encapsulate and seal that emotion of success in your mind? Because there was never another competition thereafter. Because as you know, as a racer, you win a race and then your mind moves on to the next race. Have you actually done a much better job than most sports people of cementing that emotion, that feeling into that great success?
I try to be quite rational, and I try to plan my life out and set certain goals, because otherwise I'm very addictive and I'll certainly lose myself, and that's not very healthy for my head. And this was really, it doesn't get more perfect than that moment. It just doesn't. After many, many tough defeats, particularly to Lewis, which really hurt me. I mean, it really hurt to lose to him. And then to come back in that way and to deliver a perfect season, to win in the last corner, it was just perfection, and it entirely fulfilled me. And it just gave me that instinctive feeling that this is the best exit I could ever have imagined from my sport. And sooner or later, the exit will come. And I also believe that the exit is just important for the rest of my life, because if I exit at the very low end in last place with a car, or I cry, whatever. Now looking back, it was perfect for me, because it's still carrying me to this day. This last emotion, I'm still floating. So it's great. And Formula One was anyways always just one stepping stone for my life. It wasn't the ultimate destination. And now I'm really enjoying my new life, spending more time with my family, which is my everything, So it was a good decision.
It was a perfect ending to your Formula One career and a new beginning to this next career. Now you touch on the fact you've got a beautiful family and you're getting a bit more time with them, but equally you've got new passions. We see you very active in the eco world, sustainable energy, and various other projects that you're working on. So is this just you can't stay at home, or is this, as you mentioned, this was always phase 2 of your life? The next Nico statement, or the next Nico championship?
So I studied psychology as a racing driver. That was one of the reasons as well why I won in the end. It was a huge asset for me, and I made huge mental progress, because I was quite weak mentally in the beginning of my career. And it just helped so much to study psychology. And one of the key learnings is, and that's something that I took away, was that the best way to live a life is to dedicate a lot of time into being of service to others. So a life of service. And this is something now that I'm putting my next part of life towards. And I want to really have success in being of service. That's really what my business life at the moment is about. And a lot of that, I would consider myself a sustainability entrepreneur now, because most of my projects are to support the preservation of the environment at the moment.
Nico, we're getting to the end of the time you have available. So what is your plan? The first thing you're going to do after lockdown? Presumably you've still been able to continue to work on some of your ecology projects from home, but what is the family plan? What is your plan once the world returns to normality?
My first travel is going to be next week, actually, because I'm a dragon on Dragon's Den, or for the Americans who are watching, a shark on the Shark Tank in Germany. And again, investing mostly into sustainable startups. And so I'm doing that, filming that. There's the last part of the filming for the whole season happening next week. So I'm flying to Cologne for that. That's going to be the first part. But after that, I'm really going to settle down again for quite some time here in Ibiza. And I'm really loving the remote working. I mean, it's been great. You can still do a lot of stuff on social media, move a lot of projects forward. So that has been really nice. And I think the home office is something we're all going to adapt to more and more, and take more of the work home, because I think it's a nice, it's a better direction. Spend more time at home with the family. DC, just before we end, You spoke a lot about my mental things, but I mean, our success in Formula One is pretty similar in many different statistics and things like that. I want to ask you, what was your greatest challenge mentally during your career, and do you remember the feeling you had during that challenge, and how did you overcome it?
Well, very kind of you to recognise I had a career in Formula One, not with the same success that you had. But I guess the big challenge for me was you carry a Finnish passport. So the Battle of the Finns, I had Mika and Kimi as my teammates. And, Mika certainly, having been 7 years together, which is a very long pairing, was a very big challenge. He was naturally faster over a lap than I was. So from a psychology point of view, it was for me trying to find speed. Racing was not an issue for me, and natural instinct in Grand Prix was fine. But trying to muster up the single lap was my biggest challenge. And doing that with Ron Dennis being quite closely aligned with Mika, understandably, because Mika had almost died in one of his cars in 1995. And over a process of years of conversation with Ron, from him being in denial in the beginning to then eventually admitting he did have a special bond with Mika, which I understand. He had a long relationship with Mika. But the moment Ron acknowledged that he did have a special relationship with Mika, it took away suddenly the pressure. And actually, it fell into my best year of Formula One. It was 2000, where I really, seemed to be performing a lot better.
Certainly, communication is such a powerful thing that we all need to do much more of. And that's what you did there with Ron. And it's really communicating and understanding the opposite's kind of point of view and where he's at with his thinking and aligning, and I think that's so powerful. And I had many examples like that. I mean, one good example was when Michael came along. He was like God in the team. And so when we had some strategy meetings, even my strategy was only being discussed with Michael and not with me, even though I was sitting there. And so I also then addressed that to the strategist that was holding those meetings, and then we reflected on that together, and it really had a big impact. And from then on, strategy meetings were much better as well for me. I felt much more comfortable, and I did get that attention from him, just by showing him my vulnerability in the end and expressing my feelings. But can you take one specific moment? Can you remember one specific moment then when Mika was just quickly, and you finally did that perfect lap, and still Mika pipped you to it or something? And how did that feel then? Or is there any story around that maybe you remember, like a super dark moment?
Well, Monte Carlo, I think 98, when the McLaren was a dominant car, and that's the holy grail for a driver. It's one thing to beat your teammate, but if you've got a car which is the class of the field, a bad weekend, you're finishing second or third. So, it's a pretty good place to be. But I remember back in those days, we had the 1 hour and you could do 4 runs. And Mika had gone out and done pole, and then I'd gone faster. And then I'd come in, he'd gone out and gone faster, and I'd gone out again and got the pole. And I'm sitting in the garage, and as Mika does his final run, and I've got 1 run to go, he takes the pole back from me. And I look at the pit wall, and you've got Ron, and you've got Norbert, and you've got everyone punching the air. And I'm thinking, he's taking pole position from me. I'm part of the team. And on that particular occasion, I went out and I didn't go faster. So Mika had the pole. But I went and spoke to Ron and Martin Whitmarsh afterwards and said, look, I understand this is a great day for the team, but you've got to understand how it felt for me looking from the garage and seeing you guys cheer when he's beating me. But anyway, it's an amazing sport, an amazing journey. And I think you're a perfect example of being given an opportunity, but then making it your own and having great success. So I take my hat off to what you achieved in the sport.
DC, I have so much empathy for your story about the guys cheering on the pit wall when your teammate pipped you to pole position. Really, I mean, I had the maximum amount of empathy. I don't think there's anybody you could have told that to who would have a better understanding. Not that it really happened to me in that way, but I would understand the situation. So respect that you fought your way through that.
Yeah, it's a weird scenario of Formula One where you're a team, but you're 2 teams within that team. And I think it makes our sport pretty unique.
Yeah, it's true. And not many people can relate to that, because in soccer, you have a huge family and you're all as a family fighting against the other group. It's very rare, I guess, that in the same team you have such incredibly big rivalries.
Yeah. Well, Nico, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to reading the next chapter after your final book, which was called Finally. So here's to the next chapter. Allow you to get back to your family. Good health.
Cheers, everybody.